All right, good morning everyone. Welcome to today's webinar event. My name is Joshua and I'm going to be your presenter today. It's 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Friday here, the 27th. Welcome to all of you. We're here to talk about paying your employees using the direct deposit function in Church Windows Payroll. Our workbook topic is taken from Payroll 102 workbooks. Actually, it's, pages 5 through 9. If you don't have the workbooks, you can certainly consider purchasing those from our Church Windows website. Let me bring up my browser here real quick to show you where that is. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. But yeah, if we go up here to churchwindows.com, we go to the beginning option up here. Down here, you've got in our submenu the training workbooks here. You can purchase those online. You can see the, you can get a snapshot of them there or scroll down and see them, and you can see downloadable or pre-printed. It's your choice. If we have questions during the webinar event today, please type those into the questions portion of the webinar control panel. I'll do my best to keep an eye on those and answer those as they come in. If not, I'll certainly be happy to answer them at the end. All I ask is that you keep the questions at the topic at hand. In this case, paying folks electronically using direct deposit. Another webinar event may be on a topic that may be more suited for your question. I'm going to be here for till 11:20 at the very latest, maybe before less than that, depending on how long it takes for us to get through this. We are getting ready to release have our May webinar events online here. So if you're, if you have a time and you're interested, please check that out. And all right, well, let's go ahead and get started here. Well, we are recording this, of course, as well, so we'll have this out on our website at some point in the next week or two. There may be one already out there from an earlier version on this same topic. I believe there is, actually. So we're not talking about the setting up of the direct deposit. The assumption is that portion of the payroll setup has already occurred, meaning we're not going to be discussing setting up the direct deposit. We're going to be talking about only you paying folks and creating the EFT pre-notify file that then would be transmitted to the church's bank. So we're going to kind of quickly go through this calculate payroll process to show how that looks when we're paying folks electronically. So let's say our pay period ends on the 25th. Our settlement date is the 30th. We're going to go to next. It then pops up and asks us, who do we want to pay? So we're going to leave all of our employees, those with checks, those without. So here are all of our employees listed right up here, so that's everybody. Those are a combination of both direct deposit employees as well as our those who are receiving checks. Certainly we would want to make any adjustments to folks. Okay, Jimmy, he worked 40 hours last week instead of 45. A temporary override to that. We go to next, and then we go to browse payments. At least I do. I strongly recommend it simply because it allows us to examine what each net pay amount here is, and I like to point this out. I'm very big on this. So right over here on the right-hand side, we see the column called net pay. That allows us to check and examine the net pay amounts before we post anything. A lot of folks are unaware of this, is that this browse edit calculated payroll screen allows you to see it and determine whether you're possibly making any mistakes well before you post anything, okay? So, if I look at that and I go, oh, something's wrong, I can cancel out of it and go back, back to my Calculate Payroll 3 screen, make any adjustments to some things if I need to, go to next, revisit browse payments again. Once my net check amounts look correct here, I would simply click cancel. And these reports right here in the middle, these are just some pre-posting reports that you can choose to print here if you wish. I'm not big on the pre-posting reports, but it's certainly your choice. You can print those before posting if you wish. They're just going to say, payroll has not been posted yet. These same reports can be printed afterwards. Then we go to next. Now here, of course, is where it's saying, okay, we're going to post to our payroll module. We are going to create the EFT transaction file. We're also going to print checks and assign check numbers for our regular employees, and we are going to transfer to accounting. So there's nothing that we need to do special there. We're going to leave everything as is, and then we're going to go ahead and click Finish. This is how it occurs at the end of Calculate Payroll 6. Okay, so we click Finish on that, and then it pops up with our dialog box that the payroll was posted to our employee file successfully. Okay, now here's where we pick up on our workbook. Okay, so basically 5, 6, and this next one are on these previous two screens, the Calculate Payroll 6 and this window. So once we click Finish on that, then it opens up our Create EFT Transaction File screen right here. This is what I'm talking about, right up here at the top left. Okay. This is where it's actually creating, or it's going to create, that EFT transaction file that we're going to then transmit to the bank. So, you know, it's telling us who the employees are, what their net pay is, what the EFT transaction number is, which in this case is always the acronym EFT followed by the month and day of the pay, as well as the employee's number, and then of course the Enable EFT box. Okay. Basically, stub printed is a checkbox that if I didn't need to print the stub, I would check that. But of course, I do want to print a stub for my employees, so I'm not going to print that. You know, so I'm going to leave those unchecked, and then we're going to click on Next. And here is where I would then, you know, ensuring that there's plain paper in my printer, that I would print these to a plain sheet of paper. And we also like to point out that how these differ from checks is that right here under the check portion of that, it says to be deposited via electronic transfer, okay? As opposed to checks, you know, the real checks that we're going to print here, and that doesn't say that, okay? So we, of course, they look virtually exactly like a regular paycheck, except they're printed to plain paper, and they are, and they show that to be deposited via electronic transfer, okay? So I would send those to my printer here in the top left. Once those were printed, then I would go to Next, and I would say, yep, the stub's printed. If I did actually physically print those would be checked automatically. However, if the stubs didn't print, of course, I wouldn't check that, and I would go back and try to reprint them again, okay? But notice here, of course, it does have the Enable EFT box check. So basically it's saying, hey, when you click Finish on this, I'm going to create the EFT file. Okay, it says right here, clicking on the Finish will create an EFT transaction file containing entries for the employees shown above. Okay, once this file is created, you will not be able to create another transaction file for the same date. And it says you will not be able to void the payroll calculations for these employees. That's not entirely true. You can void the EFT pays in payroll. So we're ready to do that. So we've got the stubs, we're ready to do that. So we're going to click Finish on that, and it pops up with our dialog box that says very clearly EFT transaction file has been created. Okay? So once we click OK on that, now it opens up our print checks, you know, ready for us to enter our checks for our regular employees, you know, that I am actually producing stubs for, you know, so then when I click Next on that, it would again allow me to replace my paper with my check stock, and I would do the same thing. You know, I would send it to my printer, go to Next, you know, did the checks print correctly? We're going to assume, you know, we're not here to really talk about this. We're going to just assume they did, and click Finish. And then it opens up my Transfer to Accounting window, okay, to transfer all of my pays, both regular employees, regular checks, combined with my direct deposit employees over to accounting. And so again, I would just simply click Transfer at the top right. Okay, so it does its gyrations, transferring payroll data to accounting. Takes a few seconds. It pops up and says, hey, here are our transaction numbers. Do I want to print the report? Personally, this accounting transfer audit report is one of my personal favorites in Church Windows, so I strongly always recommend printing this report. It simply is a verification, you know, like in this case here, on April 27th at 11:11 a.m., I transferred the payroll over to accounting. Here were the transaction numbers that were created, etc. So it's just a good record to have for what I did when I transferred my pay. So then we would click Finish when we printed that, okay? So we've printed our stubs and our checks. We've created the EFT file. We've transferred it all over to accounting. Now we're ready to create or copy the EFT file to get it to the bank to pay our employees. So now we're at the bottom of page 7 on our workbook topic here, the copying the EFT file. So here, we click on Payroll, and we notice about halfway down the menu it says Copy EFT File. So we click on that, and we see all of our previous pay dates in there, but we're looking for April 30th. Yeah, due to the old code we still have in Payroll, it's still going to be looking for a floppy disk. But in this case, you would click Browse to the right, and we would basically send that wherever we wanted it, the file, to save the file. So we're just going to choose desktop for the purpose of our webinar. And then once I click OK through that, and then simply click the Copy EFT button right here. So Copy EFT. There we go. And then when we click on that, it pops up with the message that says, EFT file successfully copied to C users, Kellyanne, desktop, EFT 180430.dat. Okay. The EFT files always start with the acronym EFT followed by the year first, 2-digit year, 2-digit month, and 2-digit day before the .dat file extension. Okay. Then, so now when I close out or minimize my payroll back to my desktop, I have this file right here called EFT 180430.dat that I can now get to my bank in whatever capacity they want you to send this file to them. I like to make sure that folks are aware there is no direct link between Church Windows Payroll and your bank, okay? This Church Windows or Payroll is simply what we call NACHA compliant. It creates a file that meets, federal banking standards that, virtually all financial institutions can import, and this includes all of that information that allows them to import that. So however your bank wants you to transfer this data to get it to them, we would then follow those steps. Whether you're, putting it on a flash drive and walking it in, whether you're attaching it as an email attachment or maybe uploading it through a secure link on the bank's website, that's commonly how it's done these days. Whatever, but that's one of the things you'll need to find out from them as you're determining whether you're going to be able to pay folks electronically through the bank or not. That's one of the setup steps. So one of the things we'd really like to make sure that folks understand about is this is not an encrypted file, folks. This is just essentially just a DAT file, a text file, a CSV file. It basically is just a data string, but it is non-encrypted, okay? Most banks will have, or all do virtually, have what's called an SSL, a secure socket layer, which will encrypt your data in this file, provided you upload it through them. But again, you'll want to find out how they do that, okay? If they don't have SSL security on their system then you'll need to purchase encryption software, okay? But that's highly unlikely, okay? But now then I could go right into the bank's website, upload that or get them to them, and then, with whatever settlement date is on the pay, then that money will be transferred to the employees' accounts, okay? All right, finally, if at some point, we determine that the EFT pay was incorrect or wrong, EFT pays can be voided. If we click under Payroll, notice right here below Void Individual Pay, we have one called Void EFT Pays. So if we click on that, it opens up all of our pay dates where EFT files were created throughout the year. including our April 30th. So you can void these, certainly, you can. The thing we have to be aware of is that they are all or nothing, okay? Because it's transmitted to accounting and to your bank as basically a single entry. We can't just void an EFT pay for one employee, we have to do it for everybody, okay? So if we go up here and we choose, say, April 30th, it isolates that. We do select all. You see, I can't deselect any one of them. If I do clear all and I click on one, it's clicking them all. So whether you click on one or you do the select all, it grabs everybody, okay? And then we simply click void in the upper right corner. It says 2 entries voided successfully. Click OK to continue or cancel to undo. Okay. It now, as payroll always does, it knows that we transferred it over to accounting, and it says payroll entries were voided that had previously been transferred to accounting. Do you want to reverse the accounting transactions for these payroll entries? And, you know, folks, unless there's an absolutely valid reason as to why we wouldn't want to transfer it, we're going to always say yes to this. Okay. So we click yes. It now changes the color of these transactions in payroll to red, and it tells us confirms 2 payroll transactions reversed in accounting. Okay. So that EFT pay for April 30th now no longer exists. I can certainly go in and recalculate a new one as needed if necessary. Okay. Yeah, that's it, folks. There's really not too terribly much to this topic today. Again, many of the questions that you may have about it, I mean, the assumption is that the bank has already, you know, they do accept the EFT file, that, you know, we've already sent them the pre-notify file, the test run essentially. We know that the file is going to be imported into their system. Folks are going to be able to be paid successfully. There are no problems. These are just the regular steps that you will follow to record the pay in payroll and, you know, prepare that file, you know, copy the EFT file in order to be able to then send it to your financial institution. Okay. But that's it. So that's our topic. I don't see any questions coming in there. I don't know if folks have any for me. If you have questions, please enter those for me now. I'm going to go, while you're maybe typing those in, I'm going to go into the support center here, and I'm going to see if we've already got a video out here that you might be able to revisit. Yeah, so it looks like we had a very similar webinar event on this same topic from October of 2016, paying payroll, paying by direct deposit. There's also one here for setting up direct deposit. You know, folks, this support center is chock full of information on you for you that might be helpful. But yeah, this is, I believe it's the same exact topic we're looking at here today. We'll again have this one out here for the new current version of payroll, but it hasn't changed. And so you've got something out there that you can refer back to if you wish now, or you can wait until we get this one out here soon. All right. Well, again, I'm not seeing any questions coming in. If you have any questions or problems, please don't hesitate to contact our support staff. 800-533-5227. We hope this event's been helpful. And I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar for everybody. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll look forward to seeing you at another Church Windows webinar event. All right. Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.